Number 10. Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. If you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the MCU, you may have missed this slight but important detail. Thanos' loyal servants and members of the Black Order, Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight, are actually in a romantic relationship with one another. And not only that, but they happen to be pretty happily married. Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight first stepped on the scene in the comics with the rest of the Black Order in 2013, and straight out of the gate they were established as a married couple. I love when two badass villains can find one another and basically become an epic power couple. It's a weird, work-related relationship that I think happens to be great. Both have boasted of one another's powers and skills as a fighter and tactician, and whenever one gets into a fight or into trouble, the other is usually not too far behind. Talia al Ghul and Bane. While this one never went super far in the comics, Bane and Talia were at the very least engaged. And in fact, Bane was head over heels in love with the head of the demon's daughter. This all happened during the story Legacy, where Bane was inducted into Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassins. Raish saw potential in Bane and believed that he could be the heir he'd been so often searching for, especially considering his first pick, Batman, refused Ra's al Ghul's offer to become his inheritor. To solidify this, Raish offered Talia's hand, and Bane and Talia were engaged. However, after Batman defeated Bane in combat, Talia had grounds to break off the engagement, as it was proven that Bane was basically not worthy of her. Something she was really happy about, as she never liked Bane to begin with, but that left Bane brokenhearted. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving when villains get love from other villains, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw. While they might be more enemies who are forced to work with one another currently in the comics, there was a time when they were lovers. Or at least a time when Emma saw the value in flattering Sebastian by lavishing him with attention. It was implied that they were lovers, at the very least. This was back in Emma's Hellfire Club days, so back when she herself was a villain, as was Shaw at the time. And although Krakoa is a place for all mutants and provides another chance for many mutant villains to redeem themselves, I would still consider Shaw to be a villain even today. Even in the comics right now, I think he's a villain. During their Hellfire days, while Emma did not always like the way Shaw treated her, she recognized that he was a powerful ally. Because of this, she would often accept his compliments and even actively flirt with him. Although I don't think their relationship was ever fully confirmed, it was definitely implied. In issue 152, when Shaw is defeated during his and Emma's body swap with Storm scheme, Emma even seems saddened to see him hurt and declares that the Hellfire Club is nothing without Shaw.
And at number 7, HARLEEN. HARLEEN is one of the latest miniseries set to come out as part of DC's Black Label, an imprint geared towards more mature readers. In HARLEEN, we'll be witnessing a different kind of origin story for Harley Quinn, one which reimagines her descent into villainy and her relationship with the Joker. It's been described as a Greek tragedy in 3 acts, with HARLEEN being a brilliant young psychologist who takes drastic measures to heal the mentally ill. She has discovered a revolutionary cure for madness after studying criminals and sociopaths in Arkham Asylum and with the GCPD. But then, she comes in contact with the Joker and everything changes. This is a much more intimate portrayal of their relationship, with HARLEEN being a woman who is foremost a psychiatrist in this iteration. Trapped in her own mind, comprehending her own psychosis and understanding the severity of her actions, yet constantly trying to justify them because she's in a defective relationship with the Joker.
Number 6. Dr. Doom and Morgan Le Fay. A couple that weirdly makes a lot of sense, despite how many problems they ran into with one another. Both Morgan Le Fay and Dr. Doom are known for their unstoppable level of power, and both have ties to the mystical realm. Although I personally think of Dr. Doom primarily as a schemer and a brainiac, he is also deeply entrenched in the world of magic and mysticism, recognizing the power that it brings. As such, Doom decided to travel to the past and seek out Morgan Le Fay to become his teacher. She became more than that though, and would also become his lover. However, when he refused to bring her a token of affection via an object from the future, the love affair and magic lessons quickly came to an abrupt halt. Morgan became suspicious of Doom and decided she was just gonna try and kill him. She was unsuccessful there, but did successfully manage to break things off with Doom, and vice versa with her murder attempt. Number 5. Spider-Man. Just like Batman has his Catwoman, Spider-Man has his Black Cat. Is it crazy that both Marvel and DC have superheroes who evoke the look and abilities of a creature, and then both also coincidentally have feline-inspired criminal loves? I don't know. It's definitely some sort of stealing or something going on there. While Black Cat may not be as big of a main squeeze for Spider-Man as Catwoman is for Batman, the two have still had a long-standing on and off again relationship. And just like it's pretty set that Peter Parker will always go back to MJ, he will also always probably run off at some point with Black Cat. Originally a criminal and a thief, Felicia has gone from being a very bad kitty to a full-out superhero, but she always seems to be seduced back into the world of power and of crime. And while Peter may have a ton going on in terms of his romantic life, for Black Cat he is actually her main squeeze. She often mentions how she isn't a huge fan of men in general, except for when it comes to the web crawler. Number 4. Thanos and HELA. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. HELA is like the Norse embodiment of death and is also the ruler of hell, so these two seem to be kind of a match made in heaven. Or I guess a match made in hell? Especially as Thanos is generally shown to be in love with death herself. HELA could easily itch that scratch for him. She's basically another form of death. Not sure what is really in it for HELA though. I guess power is a pretty good motivator, right? If you want to be in a villain relationship, you're probably both like, I like power, you got power, I got power. Let's hook up. In this instance, HELA turned to Thanos for help initially and had to prove herself to him in order to win his favor. When Thanos was killed, HELA was pretty much leading the charge when it came to resurrecting Thanos and bringing him back to life. While in the end, this didn't really work out and both of them disappeared into a black hole, it seems as though HELA didn't actually need to be so worried to begin with. As it turns out, Thanos can kind of be resurrected like other Eternals. Thanos later would appear in Eternals after being retrieved and patched back up. But I won't spoil that if you haven't read that series yet. Also, by the way, we're talking about the newest Eternals comic, which you should read because it's great. HELA, on the other hand, has also since returned, being trapped in the black hole for a while before she finally escaped. Since their return, the two have seemingly not gotten back together.
Up next at 3, Alicia Hunt. Alicia, a model, was the trophy mistress of a former boss of the Clown Prince of Crimes, a man named Carl Grissom, back when he was known as Jack Napier, according to the film's lore. She would cheat on her husband with him prior to his disfigurement and full transformation into the Joker. Grissom is actually responsible for Jack becoming the Joker, having found out about the affair and sending one of his goons to have him killed off, which resulted in him being knocked into a vat of chemicals. He clearly survived and killed Grissom himself, taking over his criminal empire in the process. Alicia wasn't the most supportive of this transformation. When she first saw him, she fainted, and then later when she reappeared, she had been badly scarred thanks to the Joker having used sulfuric acid on her face, and she dons a creepy little porcelain mask. She has a terrible fate, eventually having a mental breakdown causing her to jump out of a window and kill herself, although it is implied that perhaps the Joker was the one who threw her out of the window instead, since he attempts to make moves on Vicky Vale shortly afterwards. Besides, the Joker's reaction to this tragedy? Not a great one. He finds it highly amusing, saying, "You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs." Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's totally into her, does he? Also worth noting, this character was created before Harley Quinn was created in the animated series. Fun fact. That's why Harley wasn't used in the movie.
Number 2, Enchantress and Keep. This romance only lasted a few issues, and I'm not sure we ever even found out what became of Keep. I don't know what Keep's up to now, or if they still exist. What we do know is that he was a monster created by the Enchantress to join her in the fight against Thor, and also maybe to be her lover? Because Keep is her creation and therefore also kind of like her son. It's really weird that he also ends up becoming her lover, and it seems like she may have also designed him for this purpose. It was a strange time. But we don't have to think too hard about it now, at least, because as I said, we haven't seen Keep and Enchantress together for quite a while. Number 1, Darkseid and Granny Goodness. Although to be clear, this wasn't any kind of romantic hookup, so if you were hoping for that to happen between these two, no. More a hookup that was used as leverage for power. Granny Goodness in fact was coerced into a physical relationship with Darkseid in order to maintain her status and win more of Darkseid's favor. Don't worry though, this isn't a thing in the main continuity if you're worried about it. It's just a thing in the limited series that exists outside of the main continuity, known simply as Female Furies from 2019. That series examines a potential world where female Furies are more stereotyped and discriminated against because they are women, despite them being capable warriors who have, proven their mettle in battle. Fortunately, this is not the vibe on Apocalypse that we get in the main continuity. Darkseid might be evil, but he doesn't appear to be sexist, so there's that. Number 10. Power Girl. In the World's Finest Comics, Volume 1, Issue 11, multiple worlds being the stipulation here, worlds, Power Girl gets tricked into hooking up with Desaad. He is under the guise of the handsome Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific. As such, Karen Starr, while at a party, ends up in his arms, until he reveals his true identity to her. Huntress and Power Girl both see that it is not truly Holt though, but Desaad in disguise, and start attacking him. But apparently not everyone could see what they saw, resulting in them being attacked by guards who think that they are just attacking Holt. Desaad and Power Girl definitely make a squicky picture. Ugh. It was short-lived, but that was all we needed, really. That's enough of that. Number 9. Supergirl. While Supergirl mostly likes to keep her relationships on the good side of things, she didn't start off on the best foot with that. Poison Ivy was actually apparently her first kiss, attempting to bring her over to the dark side, or rather, I guess the green side. The other thing about the issue where this happens is Harley even makes a pass at Supergirl too, offering to kiss her boo-boos better after smashing the hero with a hammer. Number 8. Starfire. Okay, so these two that I'm about to talk about are a pair that constantly get shipped, and for good reason. There's a lot of love between these fellow Teen Titans. Love that gets pretty brutally sexy in the wedding issue of New Titans. Issue 100 of Volume 3 focuses on the wedding between Dick Grayson's Robin and Starfire. It is off to a rocky start as the pair have their love protested against because of Starfire's alien heritage, but ends up being filled with love and beauty. Until a demonic Raven crashes it, that is. Raven has lost control of her soul, and as such has turned pretty evil. What's a girl to do but crash your old friend's wedding, confess your love for the bride, and then make out with her, injecting her with another soul of one of Trigon's children? I mean, hey, if that isn't what true love is about, then what is? Number 7. Penguin and Riddler. In the live-action series Gotham, these two have a complicated relationship. They became friends after Edward Nygma rescued Oswald Cobblepot, nursing him back to health after he was left for dead. As their bond of friendship grew over time, Oswald began to realize that he was in love with Edward. This caused Oswald to kill Nygma's girlfriend at the time, Isabella, whom Ed was in love with. When Ed discovered how his friend had betrayed him and learned this was because Penguin was in love with him, Nygma swore revenge on his once best friend. While the two have gotten into all kinds of trouble together and also caused one another a lot of pain in this show, they also have shown that they care about one another a great deal, and often find it hard to go on without the other. It might not always be out in the open, but it's clear that there is definitely some romantic energy and sexual tension between these two, more often than not. Number 6. Wolverine. I feel like being a male member of the X-Men means that you are bound to fall into the trap of falling in love with some kind of villainess at some point. Heck, even if you're a female, you might fall in love with a villainess. But especially if you are a straight male X-Men member. It's totally gonna happen to you then. And granted, a good number of them are straight and male, so pretty much applies to a lot of them. Wolverine, of course, is no exception. As a straight male member, he has fallen into the arms of the famous shape-shifting villainess Mystique, whose charms have allowed her to find herself involved with many male and female mutants. But beyond that, he also had a thing with Madame Hydra, aka Viper. She ended up kidnapping him and reminded him of a debt that he owed her. Out of honor, Wolverine agreed to repay the debt by doing as she asked and marrying her. Wow, that's a pretty big debt. She wanted Wolverine for more than just his personality and looks though. She was actually after his influence more than anything, and her marriage to him succeeded in getting her what she wanted, which was to become the princess and ruler of Madripoor. Later, in exchange for saving her life though, Wolverine was able to negotiate a divorce. Thank goodness.
Moving on to number 5, Terry from Batman Secrets. Aside from the main female love interests that come to mind when you think of the Joker, there have been a few obscure individuals who have been mentioned or have made very brief cameos as his love interest. Terry from Batman Secrets is very much that. For starters, Batman Secrets was a 5-part series that came out in 2006 and depicts the Joker and Batman going at it, as they usually do, in a non-romantic way. In it, the Joker commits a heinous act that depicts how heroes are treated by the media and the public's perception of them. But back to Terry. She is a woman he has a short fling with, a very sadomasochistic fling in which the Joker tricks her into thinking that he is a sweet, sensitive man with a big heart. But really, when it comes to getting physical, the two end up beating each other until both of them are badly injured and are bleeding, so yeah, I mean, follow suit with what he would be like, I'd imagine. Alright friends, our next number has the spoilers for the 2019 Joker film that we mentioned in our intro, so heads up, you might want to skip this number if you haven't seen it. Jump ahead by like a minute. You'll see the background change behind me.
Number 4. Storm. Aurora Monroe isn't someone who struck me originally as having a draw to the more evil side. Of course, I'm always thinking of like, 90s Storm in the animated series just watering plants, making plants grow with her little localized storms. Despite how stormy she was made to look when using her powers in the X-Men films. Like, I mean, out of context, seeing Halle Berry's eyes go all white and just watch her start creating storm clouds and lightning bolts makes her look like some kind of villain out of a horror film. Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? It dies. He gets electrocuted and dies. So while many of us comic book nerds may now think of Storm as one of T'Challa's true loves, it's no surprise that she has felt the pull towards those less good once or twice. Like the time she spent with Dracula, or better yet, the time that Dr. Doom kidnapped her, and she actually kind of seemed to think that Victor was like a gentleman, and remarked that she was actually having a pretty good time. I mean, remarked in her mind bubbles, but yeah. Is it weird that I ship Doom and Storm? Doomstorm! Make it a thing! I think it could be fun. I'm probably like the only one. I'm sure I'm gonna say that and then no one in the comments is gonna be like, yeah, Dr. Doom and Storm, that's what we want. Number 3, Orca and Killer Croc. They're both monsters, I guess, or they both feel like monsters, but otherwise these two seem like a pretty unlikely couple. The reason why you might not know about these two is that they're actually together in the alternate universe that belongs to Injustice. Here, they don't just have a one-night stand or simply are kind of romantic with one another, they get full-on married in this universe and also conceive a child together. And surprisingly enough, although it is a bit of an odd ship, these two were actually well received and have a pretty solid fan base amongst Injustice readers. Number 2, Rogue. It's true that Rogue spends most of her time pining after Gambit, who in turn is pining after her, but she's also had a really creepy relationship with the Shadow King. Seriously. At one point he even manages to tempt her into kissing him, though I use the term tempt here really lightly, as Rogue seems to be weirdly into it. He has also offered to have her become his Shadow Queen. What is going on there? But the Shadow King isn't the only villain that Rogue has seemed to have weird feelings for. No. During their time together on Savage Land, Rogue also seemed to express feelings for Magneto. Yeah, Magneto. Though the two had to part ways as Magneto felt they were just simply too different. Not that he was simply too old, which also there might be something to that. Magneto's probably a lot older than her. Number 1, Batman. The ultimate lover of all ladies villainous. Batman is definitely known for his love of the darkness, and apparently this love has extended to the bedroom. He has been mind controlled by Poison Ivy, has had Harley pine after him, fell for Nocturna, and almost married Catwoman and Jezebel Jet. And depending on what you're reading or watching, he maybe did marry Talia, and he also definitely has a son with her, making Batman definitely the one who is spending the most time in bed with those who could be deemed criminals or evil. And the really weird thing here is that he is a master detective, so he generally knows what everyone is up to. So I guess he just enjoys sleeping with criminals. I mean, sure, fair enough.
Starting us off in at number 10, Thomas Wayne. What if Batman and the Joker were in a relationship? Well, that's the reality that was presented to us in the Flashpoint timeline, the Flashpoint Paradox, in which Bruce Wayne is the one gunned down in the famous alleyway scene instead of his parents. The tragic event causes Martha Wayne to go insane, becoming the Joker. Thomas Wayne goes down the opposite extreme path. He becomes Batman in search of revenge. The two become arch enemies, with Thomas Wayne using more violent tactics than Bruce ever did in the Prime Earth continuity. He uses guns, he develops a drinking habit, it's all very toxic. I mean, when your wife is the Joker. Up next, number 9, Hayley Fitzpatrick from Earth 37. Here we have a hookup that occurred on Earth 37, otherwise known as the Thrill Killer universe. Thrill Killer is a one-shot comic book that was published in 1997 and takes place in the year of 1961, during the transitional period between the dawn of the sexual revolution and the Vietnam War. This alternate universe gives us a female version of the Joker named Bianca Steeplechase, who is the nemesis of Batgirl and Robin, the two protagonists in this story. She poisons Robin by making out with him, pretends to be the mayor's wife, kidnaps and tortures Bruce Wayne, and a bunch of other evil fun things. In addition to that, she's got a girlfriend, the Earth 37 alternate version of Harley Quinn, who goes by the name of Hayley Fitzpatrick, although she would use Harley Quinn as her alias name. Because of the whole being married to Gotham's mayor, it's believed that these two defy regular relationship norms, and that they share an open relationship. I mean, makes sense for the Joker. Up next, number 8, Batman. Okay, so yes, this is not canon, but the Joker hasn't been romantically involved with a lot of characters, and we got 10 numbers on this list, people. Despite never being romantic together, with the exception of our Thomas and Martha Wayne number earlier on this list, the Joker over the years has been depicted as being in love with the Caped Crusader. While that love has never been canonically reciprocated, the Joker has always been very open about it. For example, in Catwoman issue 14 during the New 52 Death of the Family arc, the Joker flat flat out admits to Selina Kyle that he is in love with Batman, responding to her question of whether or not he loves him by saying, "Of course, isn't that obvious?" The whole arc seems to imply this dynamic, with Batman even later stating that he saw love in the Joker's eyes when the villain looked at him. Plus, in The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller would later state that the whole Batman-Joker mythos was a homophobic nightmare, and he intentionally wrote the Joker as a gay character. Regardless, there is a ton of fanfic and fan art featuring the two of them shacking up together, let's say. So, hey, might not be a reality in the canon, but at least there's a lot to riff off of there. The Joker's a complicated man with complicated feelings. And to be fair, Bruce Wayne is like, he's pretty hot, so can you blame him?
Number 7. Daredevil. Matthew Murdock has a tendency to dally with women who are living on the more dangerous side of life. Not all the women he dates are like this, just most of them. He's gotten pretty cozy with the former assassin Black Widow, and while she's definitely a hero who just was formerly a bad guy and never threatened Matthew's life or anything, he has also been involved with women who have threatened his life, literally. Echo attempted to kill him before after being manipulated into thinking Daredevil was to blame for the death of her father. All this also happened after their first date. Matt was able to convince her of the truth, causing her to double-cross Kingpin, but still, attempted murder is attempted murder. Typhoid Mary is another woman who Matt began to see before his Daredevil persona came in and just messed that up as well, by becoming her enemy after accidentally pushing her out of a window during a scuffle. Nothing ruins romance like throwing someone out of a window accidentally. And then of course there is Elektra. And heck, even Karen Page in Netflix and Marvel's Daredevil series was kinda shady.
Moving on to number 6, Three-Face from Earth 3. We're venturing into Earth 3 for this number, an alternate universe in which strength is valued above all else, and it's believed that the weak deserve annihilation. Little harsh. It is home to the Crime Syndicate, an alternate version of the Justice League where all of the heroes are villains instead. Now on this Earth, the Joker's alternate, known as the Jokester, is actually a hero. The arch nemesis of Batman's alternate, a villain named Owlman. He began as a struggling stand-up comedian at a place called The Last Laugh, and one night he witnessed the club's owner being murdered by Owlman. So he begins to redirect all of his jokes and his act at Owlman, which does not go over too well. Owlman slices his mouth open, giving him his permanent grin, and then murders his manager Harley Quinn, which begins the Jokester's search for vengeance. Anywho, he is with a woman named Evelyn Dent, who he loses when her split personalities develop, and she becomes Three-Face, an alternate of Two-Face of course. The two have a daughter together, Dula Dent, who has made appearances in other related works.
Number 5. Killer Croc and Enchantress. The Suicide Squad is like the place at DC Comics where weird supervillain power couples are born, and these two are no exception. For Killer Croc and Enchantress, they very much found a connection via the fact that they both feel like monsters in their own bodies. Killer Croc's monstrous nature and outward appearance being the part of himself that he struggles with the most, whereas June Moon's connection to the Enchantress, that monster sort of within her, making her feel about the same. Initially we thought June, despite bonding with Croc, might be in trouble during power outages and mind-altering shenanigans at Belle Reve. Both June and Croc got out of their cells, and it seemed, despite saying that he really didn't want to, the Croc was ready to eat June. However, it turned out the supposed bite was just a love bite, and the two ended up in a steamy moment of passion instead.
In at number 4, Sophie Dumond. In Todd Phillips' recent Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix, Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker, develops a bit of a crush on his neighbor in his apartment complex named Sophie Dumond, played by Zazie Beetz. She is a single mother and has a young daughter, and gradually throughout the film we see that she becomes a product of Arthur's delusions, with him fantasizing about the two spending time together and her being highly supportive of all the things he does. They share a kiss as well, but it is hardly sexual. More so, he's possessive over her, using her as a dependent to prop him up. Now many critics have drawn similarities between the way Arthur sees Sophie in his mind and the way in which the character in the comics sees Harley Quinn. There's a lot of shared similarities there. It all comes to an end though when Arthur breaks into her apartment while her daughter is asleep, creeping the hell out of her, and her ultimately kicking him out. And for those of you who have seen the film and were wondering, he does not kill her. There was a scene deleted from the movie in which that was confirmed according to Todd Phillips. Alright, back to the spoiler-free zone.
Number 3. Professor X. Okay, based on my description earlier of Wolverine, I kinda think you know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with this? The secret romance between Professor X and Mystique, which many originally thought had to be some kind of trick of Mystique's. We see her giving birth to Charles Xavier II, her and Charles' son, after Professor X's death, but under the guise of Moira McTaggart. Many thought that her disguise could be used as proof that she was up to no good, but we later found out that this was not the case during the reading of Xavier's will, wherein it was explained that he had married Mystique and had actually left his school to her. So yeah. What happened there? We need like a series just to explain that whole romance. It's not enough information.
Moving on to number 2, the unnamed wife. The unnamed wife is the woman who appears in The Killing Joke, or that's what she's referred to as, since a few iterations of the Joker have hinted to a family life he had prior to becoming a criminal. Now in The Killing Joke, her name is Jeannie, and the two of them were having rotten luck financially. Being in dire straits, the Joker, before he became the Joker, pursued a life of crime in order to keep them afloat. Now on the day of his first major heist, he would learn of her death, which came about in a freak accident. It was one of the variables that pushed him further over the edge. Another unnamed wife is mentioned in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, in which Heath Ledger's Joker mentions that he had a wife who gambled their life savings away, and he had her face cut up by loan sharks, so he gave himself a permanent smile in order to show her how much he loved her. Instead, it freaked her out, and she left him. That being said, many of his stories in that film about how he got his scars are questionable, as he is an unreliable source due to his madness and tendency to lie a lot. And finally, in at number 1, Harley Quinn. Duh. Arguably, Harley Quinn is the only relationship of the Jokers that we've truly seen play out in the panels that was canon and reciprocated. She was first introduced to us in Batman the Animated Series as a Jester-esque female sidekick for the Clown Prince of Crime, but was later integrated into the comics. I'm sure the majority of you know the story. Before she was Harley Quinn, she was Dr. Harleen Frances Quinzel, a psychologist at Gotham City's Arkham Asylum. Now according to Gotham City Sirens, the reason why she chose to pursue psychology as a career was to understand her own broken and dysfunctional family. But those plans came to a halt when she met the Joker and fell under his manipulative spell. Their relationship has been both adored by fans but also highly criticized for being toxic, with the Joker often abusing Harley or showing little concern for her well-being. For example, he has kicked her into a vat of acid in the past. He's locked her in a prison filled with the corpses of other women dressed up as her. In one iteration, she has a daughter who she's kept hidden from the Joker in fear that he would murder her. He's offered her up as a volcanic sacrifice. He's threatened to cut her face off, with him wanting her to do it to prove her loyalty to him. It's all very, very messed up. Harley is the person who knows him the most intimately, and to think that this is how he treats the people he loves, well, that speaks volumes about just how insane he really is.